Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your next exciting talk of the day. Next up, we have Venu Vasudevan, and he is the Senior Director of Data Science and AI Research at Procter & Gamble. And today his talk is titled, The AI Impact on Daily Touch Products. Please welcome Venu. Hi, okay, great.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Let me start sharing my screen here. Great. Thank you for joining this session. I'm Venu Vasudevan. I'm going to share the P&G perspective on the opportunities and challenges in bringing AI to bear for mass market products such as those in the consumer goods space. I look forward to actually your questions and comments and a dialogue during our conference next week. A little bit about me. My background spans 3 lives in startups and 3 in large companies. I joined P&G about 3 years ago to create a team and a vision for the AI discipline and key innovation focus areas for the company. So you might know P&G from a number of our market-leading, quote, analog consumer products, and a number of these are getting equipped with digital companions that help you and coach you through most optimal usage of those products. We are also growing a portfolio of smart and connected products, and you see some of those down below. Skin pigmentation tools that use optics algorithms and other tools like our skin diagnostics capabilities, as well as AI-enabled toothbrushes that have AI and IoT built into them. In terms of where we see AI itself, our use of AI for value creation spreads across the spectrum. But broadly speaking, you can think about it in 2 categories of building the product right and building the right product. In terms of building the product right, what I mean is, post-launch sort of retail and marketing science, which is really very big data driven. You take the volume of consumer behavior around the product and optimize the marketing, the bidding, the advertising, the retail shelf towards maximizing consumer value. But a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today with you is the left side, which is how do you build the right product? How do you get the consumer insights, the product discovery, the unmet needs to build products that cater and delight the consumer. That is the land of where the right side is the land of big data. The left side is the land of untidy data, including small, complex data such as consumer videos, product measures, and technical measures that drive product superiority. So specifically in that category of consumer insights, product discovery space, we view that world as having 4 key challenges. Personalizations, how do you build a product to scale, let's say a skin cream, so that you bring that value at price to the consumer, but nevertheless speak to, through digital means, to the individual consumer, whatever age, her ethnicity, whatever weather, climate she lives in. How do you help her achieve her specific goals? The right side, what's called AI accelerated science, is really taking a page from the digital world where digital companies explore a wide variety of alternatives at scale very quickly. How do we in the science space explore at the speed of AI, but once you neck down to a promising set of capabilities, then exploit it or dig deeper into it at the precision of science. And finally, video and conversational AI, which is really about how do you understand what consumers do, not just what they say they do, through natural conversations and passive observation. So again, I'll double click into what these mean and then give you a couple of examples of actual products and actual initiatives to give you a taste of the opportunities and challenges in this space. So conversational AI is really about taking all the ways in which consumers interact and speak about their products and converting that into business and technology metrics. As we, try to understand consumers even better to delight them, we see a big role of, for video to not only understand what they may say on panels, but what they actually do. Because the reality is, especially with daily touch products, we're not all that self-aware about what we do. If this were a live session, I would do an informal poll on how many of you remember as to exactly how you applied shampoo to your hair this morning, and whether you massaged it in your hand, and for how long before you put it on your scalp. That may be a minor detail which consumers just sort of run through in their morning routine, but it's very key to the efficacy of the product itself. So we believe that the combination of video and AI that can allow us to truly understand people's effort, their engagement, their usage styles at scale is going to help us really bring sort of new vectors of value back to consumers. And finally, in AI accelerated science, I mentioned how do we get AI to really go through the collection of design alternatives very quickly. This does not show any product, but you can imagine, if you were to imagine product usage videos that we could get off YouTube on the left and automatically emulate that product usage on a robot, you can imagine that we could create essentially synthetic panels of thousands, if not tens of thousands of people and their usage behavior without actually recruiting them or collecting that data at more at sort of slower velocity. So AI accelerated science is a big space. We look at it as it relates to consumer insights, as well as creating compelling designs and rich consumer taste vectors. And I'll talk about this one in the next little bit. So now I'll take you through a couple of examples. One that's further downstream, and one that's earlier in the thinking. First, on personalization, I'll talk a little bit about a product that's in market called Olay Skin Advisor. That's a digital companion to our Olay skin cream lineup. And the motivating factor here is that a lot of women are confused when they're browsing the skincare aisle on what product is best for them. And in many cases, they don't know what their actual needs are. And so we embarked on the journey of creating a visual diagnostic tool that would allow them to quickly get a sense of, what their skin situation was in terms of the synthetic skin age, and give them a diagnostic of the products they could or should use, given some input on their what their desires and goals were, and have this synthetic sort of skin age capability give them a sense of forward momentum and a sense of whether their skin is improving over time as they went through the regimen. But we found that before you could apply AI to diagnostics, you had to apply AI to help them get the right input or get the right images that AI could work on. Because in the real world, you have uneven lighting, you have people frowning or wearing hats or Mickey Mouse caps or whatever, all of which confuses the AI in terms of what your actual skin condition is in terms of luminosity or wrinkling, etc. We also found that skin on the face and coming up with a facial diagnosis is a more complex process. It's not a single AI engine, but one which needs to be where the problem needs to be segmented into a bunch of different regions in your face to give the consumer a true read of how their face is looking, visually the way they would look at them or their friends would look at them. So there's an ensemble of AI engines in play. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of sense of the complexity involved in taking AI technology to sort of a consumer grade capability which communicates with consumers in an intuitive way. The second example I want to talk about is in what I called AI accelerated science earlier, in particular in the space of product design. One of your product design is seeing sort of twin pressures. On the one hand, I think all of us are seeing compressed market windows in terms of time to market, but we're also seeing consumers whose taste vectors are going from just the performance of the product to other subjective things like consumer perception. An example of that here is Chinese moms who have grandparents at home, so they're not necessarily concerned only about the absorbency of a baby diaper. They also care about subjective qualities such as, does it look premium, does it look comfortable, does it look sustainable? So we're looking at how to use AI to decode that consumer perception, as well as build synthetic prototypes to that taste vector. And so the question is, there are digital ways of prototyping different products. Can AI-based generative design in many of these spaces give you an order of magnitude improvement the way digital did over physical? As in many domains, the challenge in data-driven innovation is the data itself. Data sets tend to be in hundreds, not millions. If you're thinking about a problem of translating a design template onto an actual product, you don't necessarily have matched pairs, and so on. So there's kind of the untidiness of data, smallness of data, the fact that the designs you generate, even with a slight visual variation, they can go from uninteresting to interesting, and interesting to too quirky. So how do you design to that tight taste space? I won't go through too much of technical detail, except to say that the techniques are called GANs, which are good enough to generate the kinds of synthetic designs that cause the deepfake controversy are promising. But the key is the craft of how do you harness its creativity while also controlling what it generates to whatever design metaphor you want it to in your market, in your tier, et cetera. But the good news is that I think for a lot of our industries where data is a challenge, we do have the ability to generate designs fairly quickly with small data sets and be able to pivot iteratively and be able to have this generative approach, be flexible enough to change what it generates based on consumer feedback and get progressively more novel and likable. So there were two examples that I wanted to share with you about the challenges of consumer-grade AI, how AI, the craft of AI, is going beyond big data to really help drive markets where the kinds of innovation and consumer value you can generate are high, but there are data limitations. In a number of markets, we're not trying to generate a point-in-time value. We want to optimize benefit over space. We certainly are very engaged in making sure the way AI is delivered to consumers gives them the maximum value with incurring the minimum cost in terms of either bandwidth or privacy. And for those of you who are looking to innovate in spaces that have these kinds of constraint, but also this kind of value creation, I look forward to sort of continuing the conversation when this session goes live and during the conference early next week. With that, we're also hiring. So if you know any people who have an obsession, a great interest in creating consumer value at scale through applying AI and data-driven innovations to that sort of consumer benefit, we'd love to hear from you. With that, thank you, and hope to catch you next week.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was great. If you could unshare your slides and turn off your camera just for a moment, please. Thank you, everyone. Please give Venu a warm virtual round of applause. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and you can make your way over to your next session. Enjoy.